this is my final project for MIT 885. It is to define the biggest problem that I am having in my professional career at this moment. And now that I'm finishing up with my first master's degree and also working towards a certificate in web design, what's coming up basically is the job search. So that is why my final project is a portfolio website that I created, so that I can use it as a tool to help me contact and impress employers. And so it does actually fit into the ISTE NETS T standards quite well. What I'll do is go through each standard, and then through my website I will show you how it fits in. So number one is to facilitate and inspire in student learning and creativity. Teachers use their knowledge of subject matter, teaching and learning, and technology to facilitate experiences that advance student learning, creativity, and innovation in both face-to-face and virtual environments. Okay, so first off, what my website shows is that have been studying instructional technology. So by knowing this, the employer should know that I have a good idea about how to use instructional technology in learning. For example, here is a lovely chart of how I would set up my ideal classroom. Now, of course, there are many budget restraints, so a classroom like this doesn't happen too often. But you can see that I have it just completely packed with technology. I have an interactive whiteboard along with a webcam, and so we are able to do web conferencing with other classes, or to be able to use content providers so that they can see our students and interact with them as they teach us. And alongside of that is a whiteboard. Now that is there because I taught in a class one time that was supposed to be converted to a technology-based classroom, and all they did is they took an interactive whiteboard and put it right over the regular whiteboard. And though interactive whiteboards are awesome and even more useful even than a whiteboard, those whiteboards still are very nice, and so I like to have that beside so I can utilize the entire board for putting things up there that the students will want to have access to for the whole class, including homework, there's all sorts of things that the good old whiteboard is necessary for. So here we have the router, and so that all of the students can connect for Wi-Fi. I have a 1-to-1 computer ratio, so we don't have to go to the computer lab. I can teach them how to research and how to use online tools, as well as the tools that they have on their laptops. And also back here I have a section of computers, and this section of computers can be especially used for utilizing programs that we wanted to teach the kids, but the programs were too expensive to be able to install on all of their individual computers. So during class time, if they have to use like a specialized program, then this is where they could go access that. And then also for teaching in stages, if I like the idea of teaching, of having like 3-stage classes once in a while. So like one third of the class will be with me, getting a sort of interactive lecture. The second third of the class will be working together, collaborating to figure out how they're going to come up with what they're going to end up doing on the computer. And then the third group would be actually on the computers and doing production here. So it's a way that you can also do stage learning. And then just things that might come up, a scanner, and of course a printer is always nice to have. Now this all can be done with less technology, but this would be the ideal case. So I do know how to facilitate the learning in this manner. Also, it says that they want us to be able to engage the students in exploring real-world issues and solving problems using digital tools and resources. Okay, so here we have that exactly. They have their digital tools and resources all over the place, and we're going to be able to access content providers from the Smithsonian Institute to NASA to many different museums to other organizations um, that that specifically provide content. And so that's one thing, is we're going to be able to keep them up on real world issues like that. Another example of that is if you look at my history course, how I have designed, for example, my class assignment. Okay, and it goes to a presentation so that they can so the students can more closely or more easily understand what it is about. And it's running slowly right now, so I will just tell you um, how my assignment was designed was that the students would get individual topics that they would have to write about on their own. So they would have to do a research paper on their own, and they had to use at least 5 primary and at least 5 secondary sources. And then I had it set up so that the people they would not be able to pick their own groups. The groups were put together by which paper they picked. So I had it so that whoever had the highest scores out of the first couple of quizzes were able to pick first what subject they wanted, and it would just go down the line. And then the papers were set up after that is then they would be grouped according to how I grouped the papers together. They would each have a paper that they would have to explain how this paper relates to the other paper. A lot of them would be chronologically based, and then some of them would also be subject oriented, but they all would lead up to current events, so that by the time they got done with their collaboration and with their project of putting this all together, they would really see how these historical circumstances led them up to current events. And they would be using technology all the way, everything from doing the research, which I would have a thorough section on how to get good sources from the internet and how to evaluate the sources. And then through collaboration, they would have, in this situation especially because this is an online course, they would have a Google group of their own so that they could collaborate, and then they'd have to work together to come up with an online presentation. So it is technology based in many aspects, and they do deal with real world aspects. And model collaborative knowledge, so that the project is definitely definitely is a collaborative effort. Design and develop digital age learning experiences and assessments. Okay, so to design, develop, and evaluate authentic learning experiences and assessment incorporating contemporary tools and resources, and maximize content learning in context, and to develop the knowledge, skills, and attitudes defined in the NETS S standards. Okay, so as far as this goes, I think that this online course also is a good way to demonstrate how I have done this. It is a technology-rich learning environment. I wanted to share with you how I have been able to especially in my quizzes, I've been able to use technology to implement. And here you can see my explanation of the quizzes. I used technology along with proven theories of learning to be able to incorporate what I feel is a unique technologically based approach. So they would have a quiz And so they would have to study it in a traditional manner. So I mean, to get ready for the quiz, you have to study everything so that you can get those quiz questions correct and get a good grade. But then following that, the quiz would be online, so it would be digitally based, and they'd be given 25 questions, and then they would know the results of those directly afterwards. So the ones that they missed, they would know it, and they would be able to assimilate that knowledge or lack thereof at that point. And now, what's important after that is that using the cognitive theory approach to learning, it says that while the kids have that information, or while the students have that information in their mind, they need to utilize it in a higher level thought process within a certain amount of time, and then it works to help them to cement that knowledge. And I am a big believer that to get a well-developed knowledge base, especially in something like a subject like history, is very important. And so they give how I had this is that after they finish their quiz, they would be automatically given, like on the last page of the quiz, they would be given 5 essay questions. And then when they're given those essay questions, then those essay questions would utilize the 25 questions from the quiz, and they would be given an hour and a half to write those essays and get that email to me marked within an hour and a half of when their quiz closed. So this is a great technological way to be able to use some of the traditional learning theories. Okay, so you can see how it's fit into a lot of the different finer points of the standards. Standard number 3 is to model digital age work and learning. Teachers exhibit knowledge, skills, and work processes representative of an innovative professional in a global and digital society. Okay, part of that is how I would set up my classroom. Another part of that is how I set up my distance learning. Another part of that is the collaborative approaches that I have, and the fact that I use and require my students to use a lot of different digital-based tools. And also, I think what adds to that is a deeper understanding of why it is important through my background in liberal studies, so that this really does give me a profound understanding of how we got to where we are as far as the need for instructional technology and the need for teachers to know how to use it, and also because of my MIT experience, I have a good fine-tuned knowledge of how to utilize it, and to impart the knowledge, technical and traditional knowledge-based knowledge onto my students. Number 4, promotes and model digital citizenship and responsibility. Okay, so part of that was going to be, like for example, like I showed you in my online course, a big portion of that would be to teach them about research, to teach them about information, literacy, teach them how to pick out good sources, teach them how to recognize bias. This course is geared more for the college level, actually, but if it was geared for younger students, then I would definitely have in it many things about what's to be fearful online and how to avoid things that may, bad things online. And so that kind of wraps